So good afternoon once again. Good afternoon once again. Please, I need your reaction so that I will know that you are following me.
Yes, please, you can continue, please.
Okay. In our last class, we started looking at, we started from some concepts like inductive method or approach, deductive. We talk about positive statements and then normative statements. So, and I could remember that in our last class, I was able to explain what an inductive approach is all about. That is talking about using a specific situation to generalize a whole situation, while deductive is talking about using a general situation that is to represent a specific situation. So last week, and then our last lesson, we also talk about what is meant to be a positive statement and what is a normative statement. And I was able to tell us that positive statement, it is a statement that is based on empirical findings. Those are the kind of the statements that we can conduct or we can search for it. That is to get a fact or to get a valid fact. Why a normative statement is just like an opinion of an individual, which cannot be put to text. Like when someone says, if we have money, we can have everything we need in life. If we have money, we can have everything we need in life. It is a normative statement. It is an opinion of that particular person, because it doesn't mean, we can't say it is, the man is correct or is wrong, because it is based on an individual opinion. That is what we call a normative statement. So last week also, we started talking about basic tools for economic analysis. And I said something. Now, the employment of basic tools in economics was as a result of economics seen to be a science. Actually, economics is seen to be a social science, not a pure science. So, and because it is a science that makes use of scientific methods like analyzing of data, formulation of hypotheses, testing of data, gathering of data, and everything. So, and this make us to adopt some tools that we can use for analyzing some of these data. And I could remember in our last class, we talked about what a table is. We talk about what a table is. And we said a table, it is a system if you look at it, I think we can see everybody. Can we see? Can everybody see? Hello? Hello? Now, if you look at the table, this table I put here talks about demand curve of Mr. Giwa. That's an example of table. Now, we have a column for price and we have a column for quantity demanded. So that is what we refer to as table in economics.
Amaka,
So
Anthony,
table in
please
economics.
mute yourself. Anthony.
Sir?
Please mute yourself. You are disturbing the class.
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay. Okay, now, if you look at that particular table, so it has, we have our data arranged in rows and columns. There is a subtitle there is a subtitle of price and quantity demanded. It has a general heading. It has a general title, which is demand schedule for Mr. Giwa, like what I discussed with us in our last class. And we're able to talk about the features of the table, that it must be very simple. Yes, something very simple. It must be it must be easy to understand. It must have a title or heading. Now, the title there is Demand Schedule of Mr. Giwa. There must be a subtitle, which is for rows and columns. We can see subtitle, price and quantity demanded. So the purpose of it must be stated. So if it is known, I think that one is optional. If you know the purpose of of drawing or constructing a table, you can put it there. The table must be numbered. Yes, sometimes we have more than one table in a research work or in a work doing. So when you have more than one table, using for you to analyze your data, you have to number it. You can number it in form of figure 1, table 2, table 3, and so on. Be given if two sources of information that we know in any research what you are doing. It's either you get a primary source of information or a secondary source of information. So any of the one that you have used, if you look at my own table here, I put source, market survey. That is, it means that I have to go to the market by myself and then gather this information. So I was able to see when the price is increasing, what happened to the quantity demanded. That is just an example of what we refer to as a primary source of data. And then secondary source of data, it's a kind of data you get from somewhere else or from someone. You are not the one that collects it, but someone do that for you. We also talk about the importance and the uses. Like it helps us to summarize large data. It assists in orderly arrangement of data, and so on and so forth. So because of our time, I would like us to go to the second tool, which is graph. Second tool, which is graph. Now, when we are talking about graph is another tool in economics. It is saying to be a diagram that shows a functional relationship between two variables. A diagram that shows a functional relationship between two variables. Now, when we are talking about a functional relationship, now there are two types of relationship or two types of functional relationship in economics. Number one, we have what we call direct relationship. Number two, we have what we call indirect relationship. Now, let me repeat that. Number one, we have what is called direct relationship. And number two, we have what is called indirect relationship. Now, direct relationship can also be called positive relationship, while indirect relationship can be called negative relationship. In the law of demand, in the demand curve, there is demand and supply curve. There is what we call a slope. Now, let me do this. Now, if you look at this, a demand curve has a negative slope. Now, let's say this represents price, and then this particular area represents quantity. Now, the two variables that we are talking about here is price and the quantity. Now, the kind of relationship between the price and the quantity, it is what we refer to as a negative relationship. That is a functional relationship between two variables. Now, if you look at it, when we are talking about indirect relationship or inverse or negative relationship, what this one is trying to talk about is that now when two variables has indirect or negative relationship, it means that when one variable increases, the other variable has to reduce. Let's say we have 2 here, and then we have 4 here. Now, let's say we have 1 here, and then we have 2 here. Now, as this one is as the price increasing from 2 to 4, we can see that the quantity demanded reducing from 2 to 1. So that is exactly what we call a kind of a negative relationship. So a negative or indirect relationship, it is when you have two variables having an opposite relationship. That is, one is going in one direction while the other one is going in another or in an opposite direction. If you look at this demand curve, which I have drawn, please, can everybody see this? Please, I need your response for me to know that you are seeing it. Please, can everybody see what I'm drawing there? Hello?
Hello? Yes, we can.
Okay, so that particular curve shows a kind of what we refer to as indirect relationship. So, and the relationship, that relationship is what we call functional relationship. And it is between the price, which is P, and the quantity demanded. Now, when we are talking about the other relationship, which is a direct relationship. Now, let me quickly delete this so that I can demonstrate the second side. Now, when we are talking about a direct relationship, it is another type of functional relationship that we are talking about on the graph. Now, if you look at this, is a supply curve, and we say a supply curve has a positive slope. Yes. Now, we also have the quantity on the x-axis, and then we have the price on the y-axis. So we have, oh, sorry. So we have price here, and then we have quantity here. So we have our quantity here. Now, what you see here is that if you look at this supply curve that I'm drawing, let's say this is 1, this is 2, this is 2. Oh, I'm very sorry for that. Let me just, I want everybody to see clearly. So I want everybody to see clearly so that you will understand what I'm saying now. So now, yes, let's say we have 1 here, we have 2 here. Now we have another here. Let's say we have 4 here, and then we have 2 here. Now, this represents quantity, and this represents price. Now, what this one, another functional relationship is direct. It means that as this one is increasing, this one is also increasing. So, and that is exactly what graph is trying to show. So when we are talking about graph, so graph is a tool that we can also use for analyzing of data, but what it shows is what we refer to as functional relationship between two variables. And like what I have said already, when we are talking about variables in economics, there are a lot of variables in economics. There are a lot of variables we use in economics. Please, before I move on, can someone, apart from price and quantity demanded, can someone still help me with some of other variables we can use in economics? Yes, please, I will need Karim. Please, can you give me some other variables we can have? Hello? Hello? Please, I will need you to respond so that I will know that you are following
Destiny.
me. Please.
Destiny, please respond to him. If you don't know it, just say you don't know it.
That is what is there.
Don't be calling you and you just keep quiet.
I don't know it.
You don't know some variables? Have you done something related to cost, theory of cost, where we have a TC, total cost, average total cost, marginal cost, and all these? We can also see it to be variables in economics, where you have a situation where you have where you have your total, your fixed cost, like this here represents Q, which is one variable, So this represents cost. Let's say this represents FC, which is fixed cost. That's another variable. So, and then we can also have some kind of so like, let's say we have so we have a total cost like this. So we have a total cost curve, which here can also be Q, and this can be TC. And then even under total revenue, when you go to theory of consumer behavior, like that of marginal utility, total utility. So we have utility and quantity. So those are the kinds of variables we use in economy. So that is exactly what the graph is trying to talk about. So the graph is is trying to talk about a particular diagram. A graph is just
Sorry, Destiny, do you
a
understand now?
diagram, but that diagram is trying to show a kind of when we are talking Destiny. Hello?
I'm here with you.
Do you
Yes.
understand what I just okay? So those are the things that you need to be talking about. So I believe it is not only Destiny we have in the class. I would like everybody to respond so that I will know that you are following. Now, let's quickly go to some of the qualities, some of the features of a good graph. Number one, all graphs must have title. Yes, all graphs must have what? Title. There must be a title. Now, the one I drew the other time, like demand curve and supply curve. Let me just demonstrate it again. So let's say I draw a demand curve in this way. Now the title will be demand curve. So that is a title. So every graph, when you are graph, there must be a title. So every graph must have a title. So you must know that. And then graph must so every graph must possess appropriate scale. Now let me show you this. Now, when we are talking about appropriate scale, let me try to demonstrate what this area is talking about. So let me quickly demonstrate what this area is talking about. Now, when we are scale, it is not a must that you must have the same number of units for both Y and X axis. Let's say you have your graph in this way, and then let's say you decide to use a difference of 2 units here. So now the next one must be 6. That is an appropriate. You cannot say you have 2 and then you have 2, you have 4. So you are not, so you have 2, you have 4, that you are going to have 5 here. No, you cannot have 5 there because you started from the 0 to 2, which is a difference of 2 units. We have 2 to 4. So, but when you go to 4 to 5, that is just, so you must keep on using appropriate. So appropriate in the sense that if you decide to use 2 units, a difference of 2 units, use it all through. If you decide to use a difference of 1 unit, so make sure you are using that. So don't start with the difference of 2, and at the end of the day, you go back to difference of 1. That is not appropriate. That is inappropriate. So every graph, the scale used must be appropriate. All graph must have x-axis on the horizontal and y-axis. So that is what actually this one is related to more of mathematical something. So in economics, the axis, what determines what is going to be an axis, it is different. We use different variables. That is what you need to understand. But one thing you need to understand is that generally, every graph usually have on horizontal as x-axis and vertical as y-axis. But in our own, like the one I gave to you the other time, I drew the other time, under demand curve, I was able to use vertical axis to be the price axis, while the horizontal, x-axis to be the quantity axis. So we must familiar ourselves to this. So it is not a must in economics that we have to use X and Y. Please, is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, number 4, graph must be labeled properly for easy understanding. Yes, you have to label your graph properly. Yes, maybe the part of labeling, it is to write the name of the graph you are drawing. I gave you demand curve, and then the line, supply, demand, and so, and then the scale and everything that needs to be written. You have to write that. Graph must show the source of data presented. Yes, this one is when, if you know it. Yes, if you know where you get your data that you present in that particular graph, you have to state it. Like the example I gave the other time, it may be a primary source or secondary source. That is a secondary source. Oh, from market survey, primary source, market survey. That is, it means that a research conducted by you yourself. Number 6, the unit of measurement must be indicated. The unit of measurement must be indicated. Sorry for that omission. The unit of measurement must be indicated. Yes, you have to indicate the unit of measurement. Now, please, before I demonstrate that, please, who can tell me under demand and supply curve, what is the unit of measurement? Please, I would like someone to quickly give me that. The unit of measurement for demand and supply curve. Please, I need response on time because of our time. Our time is going. The unit of measurement. You don't know.
No. What's the question?
I can't hear you clearly. Can you please speak up? Let me hear you.
I was not here before. I went to 30 something. What is the question?
What I'm saying is that when we are talking about unit of measurement, can you tell me some of the unit of measurement we use in economics when we are trying to draw our graph? The unit of measurement we have to put.
2.
Okay. Can I hear you?
We 2.
2. No, we are talking about unit of measurement. That is what we use to measure, the unit we use to measuring. We are not talking about the figures used. There is difference between the figures used and the unit of measurement. Now, because of our time, let me quickly say this. Now, one of the unit of measurement, number 1, in economics, one of the unit of measurement in number 1, we use price. So price, which may be either in naira. Am I right? Dollars. Are you with me? Are you? So number 2, we have a quantity. We have quantity, which is in form of either you use kg, you use carton, and so on and so forth. And then even we can also have in terms of cost, under cost, we can have a cost, we can have revenue, we can have different. So those are the unit of we are talking about. Now, what I'm now saying is that when you are drawing your graph, whenever you draw your graph, now let's say you draw your graph like this. Now, when you put price here, there must always be a unit of measurement. Maybe you are measuring in naira. If you put your quantity here, there must always be a unit of measurement. Maybe you are measuring in kg. So that is what we refer to as unit of measurement. So unit of measurement must be indicated whenever you are drawing your graph. And then another thing is that the X and Y axis must carry different variables to avoid confusion. Now, if you look at my own now, you will understand that the Y axis, So the y-axis carry, please can someone tell me what y-axis carries? What is the variable for y-axis and what is the variable for x-axis? Please on. Quickly. Quickly. Please, I would like you to talk. Speak up. I want you to talk. I can't, please, I can't hear you.
The y-axis.
Okay, in y-axis, what is the variable? Hello? Okay, because of our time, the variable in y-axis is price, while the variable in x-axis is quantity. So the unit of measurement in the price is, in y-axis is naira, while the unit of measurement in x-axis is kilogram. So that is what you need to understand in that area. So x-axis, y-axis must not carry the same variable. So they shouldn't carry the same variable to avoid confusion. Let us quickly go to the uses of or importance of graph. Number one, it helps to show the relationship between two variables, like what I have shown to you. Direct relation. So in every table. Now, please, that particular curve that you are seeing, that particular graph that you are seeing, what kind of relationship is there? Below the importance. Please, I need your response quickly. The one I scanned and attached to the note. So what kind of relationship do we have in this particular graph? Hello?
Sir, please, can you repeat the question?
You said what? Look at that particular graph which I said and attached to the note. What kind of relationship can we call? Can we say that graph has? What kind of? I'm not talking about the one I drew by myself. That can we say that graph possess? Listen, I'm waiting for you. Karim, I'm waiting. Please, if you don't know it, let's talk on time so that we are not going to be, we're not going to waste our time. If you don't know it, just say, I don't know. So that we can move on. Hello? Okay, that particular graph has a positive relationship or a direct relationship. What you are going to notice is that if you look at it now, any curve that slope upward, please, you can write it down. You can write it down somewhere. You can write it down somewhere. When upward, when a curve slope upward, that curve or that graph, when a curve slope downward, it has a negative relationship or indirect relationship or inverse relationship. I believe we get. Yeah?
You said when they call it is positive.
You start from the origin, from that corner. So when you start from the corner, this is what I'm saying. Let me quickly demonstrate it. This is what I'm trying to talk about. Now, if you look at this, this is my graph. Now, if I start from this corner and a graph look like this, we can say this particular graph has a positive relationship, direct relationship. Is that clear now? It has a positive relationship. It has a direct relationship. Am I right? Are you with me? Are you with me? Okay. So that's now when you have a curve slope downward like this, like the man curve. Any curve you've seen in this way, we can say it has a kind of it has what we call negative relationship, indirect relationship, or inverse relationship. So any curve slope downward. And then even in economics, you know, in economics, we can have a curve having a constant relationship. Now, let me call it a constant relationship, like, you know, under fixed costs. Now, the quantity is increasing, but the cost remain the same. A straight line, an horizontal curve. We can see it to be a kind of curve that has what we call a constant relationship. And then it can be in this way also. It is not a must that it must be. Now we have under this one, under if you look under elasticity of demand, perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic. Can you remember? This is perfectly inelastic. So when a curve is perfectly inelastic in this way, we can look at it, we can see it as a kind of the curve that has a kind of constant relationship. Now, the price is changing, but the quantity demanded. So price is changing, but the quantity demanded remain the same. If you look at it, when you draw your this thing, when you draw the curve in this way, let's say from P1, you have P1, P2, and then let's say P3. Now, but Q, it remain Q. So Q1. At P1, Q1 is purchased. At P2, Q1 is also purchased. So it's a kind of constant. So there is a constant, or we can see it to be a kind of constant relationship. So I think that's clear. So now we can move on. So let's quickly go to the uses. Okay, we are under the uses. Number 2, it makes clearer and quicker impression about quantitative information illustrator. Yes, through the use of graph, we can decide quickly, we can decide faster about the quantity we used. Like maybe we use a interval of 2 in y-axis and interval of 1 in x-axis. So it helps to interpret the value of variables. Yes, through that particular through graph, we can quickly interpret the value of variables. Now, the way we can interpret it is that, let's say, for instance, now your y-axis carries 2 unit difference, and then your x-axis carry 1 unit difference. You can quickly explain that, that on this particular graph, 1 centimeter represents